to the latest episode of KapVista Klips. I'm here with Geoff from Electrogenics. How are you?
Hi, Daniel. Greetings.
Thanks for jumping on board. I wanted to have a chat to you and find out a bit about what you're doing and a bit about the story behind Electrogenics and what the technology is and what you're looking for. So, do you want to give me the story from the start, because it is an interesting concept.
Okay. Electrogenics sits in a very niche space of medical physics called dosimetry. Dosimetry is the measurement of radiation, whether that's nuclear reactors, medicine, in space. Astronauts wear dosimeters in space, where radiation levels are much, much higher than they are on the planet. The concepts and the technology emanated from the Faculty of Medical Physics at the University of Wollongong, who are generally considered in the sort of top 2 or 3 faculties in the world in that sphere of medicine and engineering and physics. A gentleman by the name of Professor Anatoly Rosenfeld was the original inventor of the technology and crafted up to 9 patents in that space. And the company bought that off the university about 3 or 4 years ago as it formed to go forward. In the area that we're focusing on, there are 2 or 3 segments, but the key one we're supremely focused on at present is in cancer. So roughly globally, 20-30 million people a year get cancer. Roughly half get chemical oncology treatment and roughly half get radiation treatment from a device called a linear accelerator, which uses electrons very precisely delivered to the tumor, which is normally under the skin, but it can also be on the surface of the skin. They deliver extremely high levels of radiation, and therefore, if the doses are not delivered accurately or they miss the target, it can be dangerous. So for decades, dosimeters have been used to QA the dose coming from linear accelerators on treating patients. The technology literally hasn't changed and been updated in 20-30 years. And when you go into the medical physics labs, it looks almost like Fred Flintstone technology. It's so old. And it's very capital intensive. So they'll pay, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 for the tech. This is the old technology. They apply that technology to a patient. They stick it on, they wire them up, and they dose them with radiation. By and large, the old technology then gets moved back to a laboratory in a different part of the hospital. It then goes through a series of calculations like trigonometry, and 3 or 4 hours or a day or 2 later, they'll get a result that says you overdosed, you underdosed, or you got the dose exactly right. Meanwhile, the patient left 2 days ago is on a bus going home. So we're using state-of-the-art technology, brand new technology that delivers instant results on the patient's radiation at the linear accelerator control panel. And this has not been done before. Our capital outlay is significantly lower, like $10,000 versus 80 to 100. We get instant results. Our dosimeters are disposable, whereas all the other tech is disinfected, so the next patient doesn't get your COVID, and so on and so forth. So that's the sphere that we're focusing on for linear accelerators, and the global demand is growing because cancer is sadly increasing. But there are other applications using C-beam technology for interventional cardiology and neurology, etc., and also other applications in things like, when Apple or someone makes a microprocessor or a PCB, when they come off the assembly line, they're X-rayed to make sure all the components are assembled and they haven't missed any solder. They use dosimeters to make sure too much X-ray is dosed, it actually destroys the chip.
Okay.
So Dosimeters are a QA tool to make sure human beings, patients, and equipment is not receive more radiation than it should have. And it's in the sphere of electrons and protons, not neutrons. Neutrons are the ones associated with nuclear weapons. We don't do that.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've got technology that dramatically reduces the capital expenditure for hospitals. It reduces the time and the resources needed. So, I mean, it's doesn't matter where you go across the globe. Every country is going through the same the same issues where hospitals are overworked and their resources are stretched, and they're trying to balance the budget. So what you're providing is a technology that every hospital can use to reduce their capital expenditure, but also reduce the resources needed in the turnaround. So freeing up staff to focus on other things.
And that's a good point, Daniel, because medical physicists are the ones that actually conduct the process in a hospital. They're hard to get. There's a shortage of them in Australia. So what our technology also does is it lowers the skill set need. A radiation therapist could operate our product, whereas at the moment they need someone with a PhD in medical physics to operate the old technology.
Yeah.
So we're working with New South Wales Health and 2 or 3 hospitals where all the FDA submission trials have been done, and they're making these observations that you'll lower our skill set and help with our technical or skill shortage.
Yeah, amazing. So tell me about the team behind it, because you've brought on the technology, you put the right team in place to take it to the next level.
Teams had a bit of a change since my involvement, which is about 3 years in the business. New team was brought in at the board level, which includes Arthur Bramwood, who is the former head of the medical device area of the TGA. Another gentleman by the name of Mario Panisi, who's worked in bioscience and medical engineering for best part of 30 years. And our CEO, Geoff Nielsen, who's former ResMed, head of VP supply chain and engineering. And his skills were ideal at the time because he's an electrical engineer that understood the process of product development, hence 10 years at ResMed doing that. So Geoff has led the charge with other directors who have got very aligned skills to what we're doing in the markets we're engineering it in. And we've literally gone from a concept and a patent to a fully engineered product with supply chains established, ISO accreditation in place, everything we need for vendors in the market up and running. We've done that in 2 years. We are literally going to lodge our FDA submission in the next week or two. And the reason we're focusing on FDA, A, it's a class 2 predication 510K, and B, the US, like most things, is the biggest market in the world for linear accelerators and that need. And thirdly, the closest competitor to us in the market serendipitously had a global FDA recall last year and withdrew from the market. Globally, they were about 30% market share. And I had a medical physicist tell me the other day, it's like Toyota being removed from the automotive market. It's left a huge gap, and it's just serendipitous. And we've got medical, well, we don't have FDA approval. We won't have so for 3 months. However, we've got facilities in the US reaching out to us saying, we can't treat patients.
So it's created a perfect storm where you can slip in.
Yeah,
amazing.
Perfect storm. So those skill sets and we outsourced all the engineering and the product development to third parties, as opposed to recruiting most of the team ourselves, with a view to speeding it up. So we wanted to get to market quickly, therefore bringing in third parties who had the software, firmware development skills, The chips that form the basis, microprocessor chips, are called metal oxide semiconductors. They're founded in Ireland. So we get wafers, silicon wafers. We founder the chips there. They then get sent to Malaysia. They then flip chipped and put into the product. And then the rest of the technology is assembled. And our first boxes came off the assembly line last week. We sadly, there is no microprocessor chip foundering in Australia, so we're forced to go overseas for that area. And the nature of the product is it's infinitesimally small, and the electrons that come from the linear accelerator have energy. They power up our chip, and it records the dose and stores it in an EEPROM on the little microprocessor. And then that data Bluetooths to the control panel and delivers the solution instantaneously.
Amazing. So you've built up everything needed. You've got the whole platform ready to go. 3 months, you're submitting your FDA approval. You'll have that in 3 months, and then you've got the distributors that are begging for it.
Correct. We've recently had a change of CEO. So Geoff Nielsen, who's led the charge over the last 2.5 years, an engineer, really smart, knew what he was doing. He's not a sales guy, so he said, I want to stand down. And what we've done is that company that I recently referred to called Landra, part of a much bigger US group, when they shut down, their Australia's CEO, obviously, who ran the sales and marketing in this region, he's now joined us. So we brought on board someone who knows the market inside out. They know all the distributors globally. He's got a nuclear physics background. He's been selling dosimeters for 12, 15 years. So we've now pivoted the engineering expertise we needed to get through product development. And our new CEO, who's just started, actually now brings the sales expertise. And he sadly will be enduring quite a few flights to the US in the next few months and we're already establishing contracts with distributors in advance of FDA approval. So we are so confident of getting the approval in a couple of months. We're filling supply chains and appointing distributors. So the only thing we need to do is put the FDA sticker on there when we're approved.
Amazing, amazing. So tell us about the raise. How much you're raising and what's the use of funds for?
We're seeking to raise circa 2 million Australian at a pre-money enterprise value of 11 million. That reflects our cash investment to date, which is about 3.5 to 4 million, and the in-kind contributions that the University of Wollongong made through research and engineering studies, etc. Use of funds, probably 20 to 30% will go to business administration matters. 20% will go to supply chain fulfillment. We need to backwards down the supply chain and get ready for market. And the largest portion of that will go to marketing and distributorship development in the US. The US is, broadly 40% of the world's market in this space. We will address other markets like Europe and Asia once we've got operable sales traction in the US.
Yeah. And then what does the market size look like? Like you're saying, the global market, US is 40%. What does that look like?
Globally, the market in the linear accelerator space is circa $1 billion. But the market is calibrated by the older technology. So fundamentally, if you go back into the medical process, radiation oncologists who treat patients prescribe dosimeters sometimes not. And when you talk to them and go, sometimes you prescribe, sometimes you don't, why don't you? And they go, the tech's old, it's expensive, it's inaccurate, and it takes hours to wire up patients to do it. And so we reverse the question and go, if it was fast, cheap, effective, you didn't wire everyone up, would you prescribe it more? And the answer is, of course I would. So we think our technology will actually increase the prescription of dosimeters because at the moment they typically only prescribe around critical organs and infants. All infants, anyone under 18 gets dosimetry. And if you've got heart, eyes, brain, etc., they will prescribe as a QA tool to ensure you're not over or underdosed.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so from a technology point of view, you've the last few years you've taken technology that's was developed in the top 2 or 3 schools, universities in the globe. You've commercialized it. You've got the platform ready to go. Everything is in place. You're about to submit FDA approval. From an investment point of view, it has been almost de-risked as much as you can from a company point of view. You've taken out a lot of the risk, and you've brought on the right people with the right connections, the right backgrounds to really scale this.
Correct.
This is, I think, from putting my investor hat on, this is something that you've taken the time to actually consider the investment opportunity from the investor's point of view, and done all the groundwork, made it as de-risked as possible for an investor, because your background is a business background. You're thinking about the business side as opposed to the tech side.
Correct.
So I think from if anybody who's watching this episode who wants to find out more, please reach out to my team. I'll connect you through to Geoff and the team at Electrogenics. But I think this is an interesting opportunity in a industry that is, like Geoff said, you could with their technology expand the size of the industry just purely on the opportunity that is far easier and new technology that doctors are willing to use it.
And I should say this is a platform technology. So we're going into the market area that we research where the need is greatest.
Mm-hmm.
There are other medical applications. There are also electronics applications. People in nuclear power stations where personalized dosimetry. There are so many areas we could take this platform technology. I've done other successful medical device startups, and the lesson that I take away from all of those: do one thing right, do it well, kick a goal, then go back and look at alternative sources of revenue, rather than trying to do 5 things at once. So we're very focused on kicking goals in the cancer radiation treatment market. And then, and we also think that market is rather niche. We know the players in the market; we can count them on easily 2 hands, and we think we'll get approached for an acquisition for that sphere in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, if your technology is making enough noise, one of the bigger players will say, "Hey, let's not compete. Let's just buy them out." And the multiples in those acquisitions are pretty healthy.
Yeah. A couple of days ago, I spoke to a physicist in the US where we've done trials in Los Angeles at a Mayo clinic there, actually. And his comment was, your technology is a Tesla. The other technology is literally a Volkswagen from the 1950s. And that was how he compared us. And he's done the trials. We had to do some trials in the US for the FDA, which they've done. And, they just, the comparisons are literally that, a Tesla and a 1950s Volkswagen.
Yeah. And if you think about the US market, where it's all driven by, health insurance companies, if they can lower their costs by still and providing a better service, it is a no-brainer for them.
And that's the other reason why we're going to the US. Not only is it the biggest market, they also have the largest reimbursements for these procedures, which obviously helps with marketing and usage.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. Thank you very much for jumping on. Anybody who's watching the episode, please reach out to my team and we'll connect you through to the Electrogenics team straight away. But It has been great to chat to you, and I look forward to seeing, getting the updates about the FDA and the launch.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect.